Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Christina, aka nwreader, and this is a different type of video, if you couldn't tell already. I thought I would do a little bit of Photoshop tips and tricks that I use. Obviously, the way I do things is not like the only way to do stuff. With Photoshop, you could do one simple thing 20 different ways. Photoshop is so versatile, you can just, it's phenomenal at the amount of stuff you can do in it, in the different ways. I've already said that, but it's like trying to harp on that, it's wild. I'm sure some of the stuff I do, there's easier ways of doing things. It's just, this is the way I know how to do it. I'm always learning new techniques, new tricks, new things with Photoshop that I didn't know of, never even remotely could think of, you know? Because I first learned Photoshop, or just dove into Photoshop, about 10 years ago when I went to a technical college for my AA in digital media. There I learned pretty much the basics of Photoshop and everything with it 10 years ago. And I feel like Photoshop has grown a lot since then, and I'm sure there's so many new tools and tricks, like I said, that you could do now. I'm sure there are easier ways of doing things, is what I'm saying. So if you want to leave a comment down below of an easier way of doing certain things, or hotkeys, whatever, like, go ahead, post it, that's fine. I'm not an expert by any means, but I do enjoy me some Photoshop. So yeah, this video, it was inspired by, after posting a couple of my review photos, I had people ask me different things like, oh, how do you make something protrude out of the face, or how do you do this, how do you do that? And I just thought it would be just easier to just do like a little video, quick little doodad. I'm obviously not going to show everything because I had to learn and I had to do all that stuff, so I figured you could do the same, but I can definitely show some of the like basics and like thought processes and little things like that, you know, with Photoshop. So I'm gonna hop back and forth between my screen and then here, or I'll just leave this up, I don't even know. But don't mind me, I am comfortable right now in my skeleton glow-in-the-dark shirt. I just took a shower, my son is napping, aka he's just sitting, like, well, he's not just sitting in there, but he's trying to nap, but he fights them. So what is the plan? What do we want to do? Let's do something. So first things first, you open Photoshop. I have Adobe Photoshop on CC, so that's what I've always used forever. But you can probably see some of the stuff I've been working on. But for like Instagram size, I believe the shape of the feed on Instagram, it's 1080 by 1080 pixels. So you just open 1080. Oh my goodness, 1080. Resolution for online, it could be 72, but I just leave it at 300. 300's more for print, but it's okay. Anyways, so this is what you're working with, and this is Photoshop. So start things off, you always save things. So you just save it as whatever you want. I'm gonna do Photoshop 1. But try to make it regular habit to save. Like, it auto saves at certain points, but I always just try to Command S if you have Mac. I don't remember what it is on Windows. But anyways, so I like to use stock photos for different things, of course. And one of the websites I like is pexels.com. And they have pretty good photos. So like this one, we can use this lady. So we download it. I'm just going to drop it in. Easy peasy. So it opens up like this. If you want to stretch it out and not have it go skew, you just hold down shift, because this is how I have it set up on mine, but hold down shift and just stretch it out to wherever you like. And Photoshop's kind of nice because the pink line there, it tells you like that's center, like the photo is centered on your canvas. So we can just have that. Looks nice and sharp, it isn't blurry, and it's pretty good. If you want to change the lighting, like if it's too dark or, you know, like just not up to snuff, like the exposure's kind of off, you can go to layer, new adjustment layer, and the adjustment layer is nice because it doesn't damage the image itself. So I like to use levels, and then you hit OK because it means, oh, you're going to create a new layer. So this levels layer is on top of the photo. So like your photo is here, imagine a layer on top, and whatever you do to this is going to affect this. Like you can see through it, you know, but it's not going to damage the photo. That's why it's nice to just do an adjustment layer instead of on the photo itself, because it's destructive. So if you do something to it and you get too far into your editing and then you're like, oh, I don't know if I like how dark it is, and you want to readjust it, you've already damaged it essentially. So it's like you have to kind of start all over or work with what you have. Nice thing with Photoshop, you can, if you just want auto where it reads the levels and stuff and it'll adjust it itself, you can hit auto and then it does it to where it looks best. Because usually control or command Z will undo something you do, but usually with levels, I try to make sure the black, like this is the black node, this is the grays, and this is the highlights. I try to make sure these are where the peaks start. Typically, if that's, especially if you're taking photos, like professional photos, and you want them to just look natural, I would definitely go this route. So it's so much easier just to hit auto, because usually Photoshop does a decent job, but sometimes it's like not. But just go based off of what you're trying to do. So it did a really good job. It crunched the blacks a bit, which is fine. I don't mind it. It doesn't look too contrasty, if that makes sense. But that's the levels. And then if you can, these little eyeballs are what is showing. So you can, like, if you want to test it out and see what it looks like, you can just turn the eyeball on and off, and it'll do that. Let's say if you don't like the saturation on this, you think it's too colorful, you want it more like desaturated. So I would do another adjustment layer, and then you can go to vibrance or you can go to hue and saturation. I like vibrance for stuff like this. If you want to do like a subtle desaturation. So with vibrance, you can like take it all the way down just to see what it looks like, and you see I don't even know how the vibrance leave her, and she looks very muted and pastel-y, and I like that look. But if you go the opposite way, she looks very lively, like blood's flowing through her. As weird as that sounds. And then saturation, it's like black or white, like no color, tons of color. So I'm gonna probably just stick with a little less vibrance, because I think it just, I don't know, I've always been drawn to more pastel looks and stuff, and pastel seems to be the thing to go for in the 2000s, especially in like the mid to late where we're at 2000s. So I stopped this for a little bit because I was just browsing, trying to find something, and I actually found a neat photo of a person with lipstick, and she has nails, or they have nails coming out of their mouth. So I thought maybe add the mouth with the nails to it. I think to her face, that might be interesting. A lot of times I found myself with these photos these pictures I will find elements from different pictures that I really love, and then I have to piece them all together. Like the more recent pre-made I did with the woman with the black coming from her eyes, originally her eyes are closed, and I could not for the life of me find the right positioned photo with eyes open so that way I can get the effect of like leaking black stuff from her eyes. And then I realized, hello, I have eyes. So I positioned myself to get the right angle, because how she was positioned, the angle was just off. So I was able to do that, and it worked, thank goodness. But here, let's have the lips on her and this. And you have to pay attention to like shadows, lighting, and this on the original, it's very even lighting, which is kind of unfortunate with this photo being like this. But I'm not a big fan of how it's placed. So if you do Command T on a Mac, you hit Control, you can like flip it different ways. And like just trying to figure out if, because it seems like the shadow is more on the person's left, or on looking at her left, but I'm gonna skew it around a little bit. And this is where the layering comes in handy. So over on this side where it has opacity, you can like lower the opacity to where you can see through to the layers underneath more. And this is helpful with trying to line things up like this. So you can lower the opacity and just try to line this up a bit more, because these lips are way bigger than this girl's lips. So you just like kind of position it the best to your ability. And this is the part where I'm like very finicky, so I'm not going to put a ton of time into it. Just showing you just examples. So then you raise the opacity much more, and it looks okay, like lined up wise. So then here you can do, you can be destructive with this image. And in that case, I would make a copy, which Command J, it just copies the layer, and then I just turn off that layer and I just have it there just in case. But it's tough because you can't do an adjustment layer while having another adjustment layer, because it will be two adjustment layers and it will be affecting everything, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it does. I'll just show you real quick. So adjustment layer, you do the same thing, and you see how it brightened her up as well as the face. And since this is the majority, it's going off of a lot of this image instead of this one. So you see, it's just like the slightest bump. So that's the problem. So I will probably just be destructive. So image adjustment, instead of layer, it's on the image itself. And then you can do levels, and then you can just kind of do auto, and it made it darker, which we don't want to do. So we just kind of play with this and just try to match it the best that we can, because it's like it's so bright. So you just kind of have to play around. And I try to match at least one side of it. Like I would say probably that is decent. And you hit OK. And then here's the fun part. So masks. A mask is where you, it's down here. Add a mask, so you can undestructively like take things out of an image instead of just straight up erasing it. Because when you just erase something from a photo, it's gone. You erased it. But with the mask, you can paint away things, And then if you were like, oh wait, I did too much, then you can do the opposite color of the paint and then bring it back. If that makes sense. I don't know if that does. But you use the brush tool, which is B. And I like to use the feathering effect. And the opacity is up to 100 right now. And you notice the mask is white, so then you would need black. So to change in between the colors, it's just X on Mac. I think it's the same on there, but you see the brush, and then this is where you just kind of blend it in around, and then you get a little bit more into there, which is going to take more time and more attention, of course. And now looking at it, I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't seem wide enough. So then I would do that, transform to just have an adjustment. And I think that looks a little bit better. So then this is where you just go in and you do more of the detailed stuff with the brush like this. You just go through. You can do this in so many different ways. You can select the mouth and do it that way, which is probably easier. But like I said way early on, I like to do things meticulously. I don't know, because I found that when I try to do the selection, it doesn't really select well, and it just looks kind of jaggedy and stuff. So I would just go through here and just blend it out. So as you can see, it's erasing the image but not actually erasing it. So if you were like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, you could obviously Z it. But if you do that and you're like, oh, I actually want that back, you hit X and you go back over, it makes it white, and then you just repaint where you want it. Like, masks are so nice, but pretty much that's what you would do for something like this. I'm not going to go full detail work, but I'm not the biggest fan of the lip right now. For some reason, it's too, I don't know, too bright or something. So I'm going to probably go to the vibrance just to play. And a lot of this is just trying stuff just to see. And I'm like, I don't know. It just looks kind of flat and stuff, which might be fine, but I'm going to take down the vibrance in saturation, and then I'm going to go to contrast, and then this is like the brightness and stuff, and I think I'm going to lower the contrast some. So that's probably what I would do. I would go around and clean it up a little bit more. And another fun tool is the burning tool. The burn tool, I think is what it's called. It's this little fist thing. It darkens stuff, so you can darken the shadows, the midtones or highlights, and the exposure amount. And this can be really helpful if you want to make something pop, like on her face, which I'm going to do a copy of it just so I have original. It'll ask to rasterize it, which is, it's fine. So this just darkens some things. It makes things pop a little bit more. I don't know if you can tell. This is just for the shadows. Like, I'll do 100% just a drastic, but you can see how it just darkens things quite a bit. Like, I guess that's a way you can do like the whole black in the eye thing, which I've never done this way before, which is funny. But we can do like both eyes. But yeah, I've never done this way. Uh-oh. My poor computer. Well, that's interesting. I've never done it this way, so maybe this is a technique someone can use. I've always just drawn it. Huh. Well, again, there you go. See, a lot of it is just exploring and just playing around. Anyways, so another photo I found was like a nail. Stick with the theme, so I figured we can download that. If it wants to download, there it goes. And I figured maybe like have it sticking in her face. Maybe that would be fun. Here we go. So, and you see like the mouth is on top of the nail photo because it was dropped underneath all this stuff down here. So it's the layers on the side are very important. But all you do is just move it up. So I would shrink this, Command T, and then just based off of, it's interesting because like she has her hand here, so the balance is like kind of asymmetrical. Like her hand is up, so it's kind of like asymmetrical. She's mostly on the one side of the frame, so it's kind of tough to like decide where exactly you might want to place it, unless you want to place just multiple ones sticking out of her face. So you can just like put one here maybe, and then on the other side. But right now I'm going to just why won't you flip? Okay, I'll probably flip it, and then I'll work on one on this side. Like for uncomfortable stuff, I would say a little bit closer to the eye. Anyways, so let's go with that. Here, for something like this, I would use the polygonal tool, with lasso tool, which is up there. This is where you can do a mask, kind of like what I was telling you before. I wouldn't have done it with blending in a face, like skin to skin, but for objects, super sharp objects, I would definitely use it. So then you just click around, like so. I'm not gonna get super too detailed into it, but I will just do enough just to show you. And they have different ones. They have like just the regular lasso tool that you could use, but I'm just not very good at it. So with this, I would just make a separate layer to remove the background because I'm not going to use it at all. So in order to do that, you select it where you see all of like the little ants moving around, and Command J puts it in its own layer. So we're like right now you can't see it because it's on top of this. So if you take away that, then there it is. And it doesn't look too bad. So I probably want it to be a little bit bigger, and then like maybe stick it like around her mouth because she already has them in her mouth. So here it's now the job is to just try to make it look like it's coming, like it's in her face. So this is where I'm like, I just kind of browse to see just different like possible wounds on sites like pixels and stuff like that. So I could do, I don't want to do wounds. I could wounds. Everyone's like wounds. Like something like this might work. You have like this little tear, so that's a possibility, and it's already on skin, so that kind of helps with the texture. So here I would just say yes, lasso tool. I don't really care too much about cutting it out properly, but lasso it, Command J, unsee this, and you see the thing, the wound. So then we put it by the nail. And then here we can do the mask. I mean, you can do the mask now if you want. You don't absolutely have to, but just to get somewhat an idea. And it's like, oh, okay, like not too bad. Very scaly because it's a close-up of skin, so it's gonna be like that. Just like mess with just the distortion of it and stuff like that, and just play around, kind of like with the mouth. I would do the image levels, exposure of it, try to just somewhat bring it up. Like, it's not so much about the skin around the wound, it's more so of like the brightness of the wound itself. And then if you really want to blend it in, lower the opacity of the brush, and then just slowly just, I don't know, blend it in. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, leave a little bit of the texture. And yeah, I think that doesn't look too bad. You can pop the saturation. Like, this is the hue and saturation, where you can like mess with the color itself, like make it green, blue, whatever. Or you can like make it dark, light, or you can pop the saturation a little bit. I probably would pop it some. Don't mind my cat. Because it's like, it's a wound, so you would think it would be agitated and stuff. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, and I think it's it's very rough, mind you, but I think it's kind of cool. I would definitely work much more on this, but I think it's okay for just giving you some tips on things. If you want to morph a face in some type of way, because in the Fuck This House, I had to morph my face because my mouth wasn't that big. I have a big mouth, but it ain't that big, and I had to morph it and liquefy it. So if you select the image you want to liquefy, then you go to filter and liquefy, it pops up the image. So then here, this is where you can do a bunch of stuff. Like right now it's on the pushing one, so you can zoom in on where you want to do this, and you can push, and then you can distort. And especially if you're putting an image over top, like how I had wood coming out of my face being forced out, it would, you think, extend my face a little bit. So it was fine to have the wood on top of it because it hides all of this distortion, like behind her, where she has like her ear being all goofy and her hair. With the wood on top of it, you don't see it, so it's fine. But yeah, and then Photoshop is also really cool with this, where they have face awareness, where you can like slim your face a little bit, or like make your eyes, because my eyes are kind of, my one eye is much bigger than my other, so I sometimes fix that in pictures and stuff. And you can just, it's amazing what you can do. You can like force a smile more on a person, like or you can plump up some lips if you wanted to. You can shrink lips, mouth width, all that stuff. And yeah, it's Photoshop is amazing. It really is. What all you can do on it. So, and then when you save it, it comes out like this, and then this is where you can add a bunch of stuff. But let's say she has, let's look at bumps. They are giving me the weird, they're giving me baby bellies. Okay, we don't need baby bellies. Let's say cool mushrooms. Okay, here we go. Mushrooms, yes. I'm looking for like a texture of some sort, like something just, you know, like this kind of, like this might work. So let's say this person has like a weird thing going on with their skin and it's super textured and just like gross. So where we have her cheek coming out, I thought maybe this side, but maybe the other would work better. We can place that there. So this is where I would move it up closer to the top. I want the full colors. Lower the opacity so I can kind of line it up a little bit. V does the move, is the hotkey for the arrow to move things. So I would want to maybe stretch it out some, like probably like around here. I think that looks decent. And I would raise the opacity. And then if you want to like keep the image on there, if you don't want to do like a separate layer like I have been doing, you can just lasso what you want to keep, which I would say maybe like all that. And then you hit the mask and then it just blocks it out. So here you can really see the mask and like all the black is what's hidden and the white is what's revealed. So then you can go through and change the opacity of the paintbrush up and then like kind of just clean up the edge just a little bit, take it out of her eye, stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, something like that. So then if you want to like make it look like it's in her body or it's part of her, there's this handy dandy thing over here where it's blending modes. So there's a variety, and a lot of times I just don't know how a certain two pictures are going to look when they're blended. So I typically go for three things in particular, but I will go through all of them most of the time because they just look so cool sometimes and you just come across something that's awesome. So like darken doesn't really do anything. Multiply is a really good one normally. Lighten, you can't really see. Screen. Overlay is usually the choice, or soft light. I usually go for those two, or multiply. Hard light, see, like that looks really creepy. It works. Even vivid looks really good. There's so many that you can choose from, and I might go with vivid, even though that looks really good. Okay, maybe hard light. Okay, so then you go with hard light, and it just looks, you can do this with anything. Like a lot of the stuff though I do involves this. And then you just kind of like, you can go with opacity, or you can go through and just blend it in a little bit better with your brush. You know, like just like gradually blend it in a little bit. And now that it's in that mode, you can do levels and just try to blend it more in some type of way. You can make it pop a little bit more. You can just do so much stuff. Like it's just amazing what Photoshop can do. And I know this looks awful. This looks really rough. I usually spend like a good 2 hours straight of just focus, messing with stuff, just trying to see how to make stuff work. And yeah, like this would be like the first 10 minutes into doing a video, or not a video, doing a picture of some sort. When you're done with the picture, you go file, and then it's already, you saved as. So you saved it. So save as, I did PS1. And then for like online stuff, you can do JPEG, PNG if you really want to, but JPEG is fine. It's just more compressed than PNG, that's all. But yeah, and then you just save it. I always do maximum. And then you have it, and you have your photo. But yeah, that's some of the stuff that I use and that I really enjoy. And yeah, I hope you found this somewhat interesting. Hopefully you got some type of tips. If you have any questions about anything, just ask. I am always open to try to help in some type of way. Yeah, I think that's it. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, again, this helps in some type of way and it wasn't too boring. Yeah, that's it. Until next time.